I've just arrived at Beddgelert, which is Snowdonia in Wales. It's May the 1st, and I wrote something at my website today which is significant for May the 1st, it being the sort of communist workers' day. Traditionally, it's not particularly recognised in Britain, but it does have that taste about it. And this is just setting off up into the hills above Beddgelert. It's a walk I've done before just once, and it's this transitional point where you leave civilization. There's a car starting nearby because I've literally just started to walk up the hillside, and a yapping dog, and I just had a nice brief little chat with an elderly chap asking me where I was from, and it's been a nice day, and it'll be nice maybe tomorrow, but not particularly in this area specifically. So these chats that you have with people, and I'm filming this to record and say a little bit about this transition from civilization to the hills, because that's significant for what I wrote earlier today at my website. So I don't know how long I'll be in Wales, but I'm up in the hills tonight for my first Wild Camp 2013. I'll say that again. My first Wild Camp 2013, because I'm really looking forward to it. That's a track which takes you back down into the Llyn Gwynant valley, and that's part of Snowdon you can see in the distance, centre top. I think that's the Cribgoch Ridge, which takes you up to Snowdon very dramatically. That's not where I'm going today. I'm just celebrating the fact that I'm here and saying hello to all these wonderful places again. But I'm going up the hillside to the right of what you can see in this frame. Threshold, that's what it's about. As you can see, I'm exerting myself already because the climb up this hillside is quite steep, and sweat when it drops into your eyes is very salty and it stings. But I'm just pausing for a moment, contemplating this transition from city to the hills a little more, and I'm not in the hills yet, it's not quite, because the city, or rather the little town of Beddgelert, is still apparent, but the hills are also apparent, and therefore it's a threshold from one space to another. And look at this. That's not where I'm going, it's another view back down the Llyn Gwynant valley. And you see Cribgoch. I think that's Cribgoch, or it could be the hill which comes down from Snowdon on the other side. But that's the direction towards Snowdon up there. But I'm going, as I said a moment ago, up the hills to the right for the night, for a wild camp and a good sleep. and you come up the track just 10 feet and it suddenly opens out. Look at this behind me. I miss this. The last wild camp I did was last autumn, 2012, and that was after a period of maybe getting on for 3 months after the Pyrenees, after I was in the Pyrenees for about 3 weeks. And so yeah, I've missed this, and it's wonderful to say hello to these hills again, which I do know. I remember last time at this spot I wasn't sure where to go because Wales is more rough than the Lake District, and I would say, generally speaking, that means it's actually not as attractive. Even at a place like this, the Llyn Gwynant Valley, which is probably one of the most picturesque, well, it is definitely one of the most picturesque and scenic places in the Lake District, Wales rather. It doesn't really compare to the Lake District, but it has its own character, and I've really missed this. This is wonderful. It's 7 o'clock. I didn't set off until just after 6. The plan being that I'll just walk. Well, I actually wanted to walk a bit longer than this and just chill and relax and enjoy the valley even a bit longer, but I couldn't get away earlier, so here I am, and I'll just be walking for another hour, maybe 2, and then put up my tent and have a little meal, wash hopefully, because I don't like going to sleep where I've been perspiring, and you know, you get dust and you don't feel clean. I wash my face and hands and neck, certainly, possibly a full body wash, which I do wherever possible, as long as it's not chillingly cold. I don't mind normal cold, but chillingly cold, I can't. Well, you know, the kind of cold that will make you ill. Can't do that. So yeah, I'll stop rambling, because this is just a pause spot to show you how this wonderful area just suddenly opens up. So here I am. And I'm going over in that direction there. Last time I came here I wasn't sure where to go, because Wales, just to finish the point I was making before, Wales is kind of rougher and more primeval, you could say, than the Lake District, which means tracks are far less discernible in certain places, and this is one of them. That's the sea over there. It's looking out towards the area where you find the town of Portmaddock, and I just stopped for a second to enjoy this particular frame. I might take a photograph, but sometimes you see places which are very, very nice indeed, but they don't necessarily translate into a photograph. But what I'm thinking at the moment is how the sun is still shining, and I love these sunshine evenings. You get them sometimes, but usually in Britain I find that, unfortunately, the evenings cloud over, so you can have sometimes a very nice sunny day, but then the evening clouds over. But these sunshine evenings are really lovely, really enjoy them, and that's what I'm getting now, because it's about it's about 7:15 now. I've got about another hour probably before I find my pitch for the night. If I go back to the place where I was before, where there's a nice little pool which you can use for cooking and drinking and washing as well, or I might just wander around and see what I can find. But yeah, it's a sunshine evening. I love these sunshine evenings, and that's looking out towards the sea, just barely perceptibly hazy in the distance. Listen to the quiet. That's Moel Siabod over there. It's spelt M-O-E-L-H-E-B-O-G. Moel means hill in Welsh. I don't know what Siabod means. And the sun is now low in the sky, but it's still very pleasant and bright. And this is looking down into the Llyn Gwynant valley. It could be spelt, I don't know, Gwynant, something like that, I don't know. It's Welsh, which I find a difficult language, impossible very often. And that lake down there, bottom right, is Llyn Gwynant. That's a bit of Welsh, I know. If you've got the two L's, L-L-Y-N, Llyn, which means lake, I think it means lake. You don't say L, you say Ch. So that's Llyn Gwynant down there. And the ridge I spoke about earlier, I realise now from a different vantage point, is not actually Cribgoch. Cribgoch is further over. The ridge you can see sort of centre top it's another peak actually. I can't remember the name of it, and I could never say the name anyway, so you know, this Welsh, it's a very difficult language. It's completely different from English, and consequently the names don't stick. Even when you theoretically learn them, they don't necessarily stick. And that centre peak in cloud is Snowdon. Highest mountain in Wales. I think it's higher than the Scarfells in the Lake District as well, so it's a high mountain and it attracts thousands and thousands of people, and it's a great walk if you go up there and do this circuit. I've done it about 4 times, maybe 2 or 3 times along Cribgoch, and then you can come down the other side. So I'm just looking for a pool actually to use for my pitch for tonight, because I'll be quite content just to eat and get hopefully a very long night's sleep. That's Cnicht over there. It's spelt C-H-N-I-C-H-T, centre top. And I've had a change of plan because the route which I did before, I'd forgotten quite how long it was. It's a bit longer than I envisaged for this evening. You have to go down to that valley, which is behind that dark green shape in the foreground. You have to go right down to the valley and then up the other side, not to Cnicht but to the ridge you see before Cnicht, and then where I camped before is a pool sort of over the back of that ridge, and it's another hour because it's quite a long climb and quite a long distance. So, oh, wonderful. I think that's a skylark, my first skylark of the year. Just having a chat with me. But my plans have changed, and because it's now about 8:30 and the temperature's dropping slightly and the sun has almost gone, and there's not any sort of sun warmth left anymore, and I've spotted this rather nice pool down here, which I remember from last time as well, passing by it. So and there's another skylark, they're talking to each other. So this is my bedroom for tonight, my world camping bedroom down there. And it's, well, I don't know, it's a bigger pool than where I went last time, and therefore it's better in that respect. Quite nice, looks quite nice. The other pool was more scenic because you have better views, but yeah, this will do nicely. I'm quite pleased that it's there, because I was starting to think this is getting a bit grim because I couldn't actually see any pool of water, and the route over to where I was last time, it's too much for this evening. Setting off at 6 o'clock, you can do it, but yeah, it was too late really for this particular route, and I've forgotten quite how long it was.
Good morning. Unfortunately, the cold kept me awake a little last night, and also prompted me to wake up this morning earlier than I would really have liked. And my tent is not going to be warmed very much by the sun, not for another hour maybe, and it didn't greet me as I was waking. It's still in shade, and it will be for some time, but I couldn't situate my tent across the other side of this pool because I think it was too marshy over there, and besides I didn't think about it actually where the sun was going to rise, so it's one of these minor situations that occur and you wish had been otherwise, but it's not important. I'm just giving you a little report about my night and my morning, and this is the view which I've just woken up to. This is the real joy of wild camping. You wake up and you see this. Hopefully, if it's grey and rainy, that's very unpleasant, and you can be stuck in your tent for a couple of hours and you can't move on. Actually, that happened to me once well, no, 2 or 3 times, at least 3 times. And, it's quite grim actually. But when you wake to sunlight like this and clear blue skies, yeah, this is the magic of wild camping. So I'm going to have some breakfast and slowly move into the day. I'm not in any hurry because actually this is a short walk. You could do it actually in 1 day, but I've broken it into 2 days with an overnight camp, which I rather like. So I've got a very relaxed but long day ahead of me because it's still early in the morning. There's my tents down there, and this is my bathroom and kitchen and water supply. What can you say about wild camping? Well, I think it's like music in a way. It's best to experience it rather than theorize it. I mean, you can talk about it and there are things to say, but it's not the experience of actually doing it. But I think one thing you can say, you know, just one word, is this sense of immersion. It's magical to come out into the hills, pitch a tent, eat, sleep, and wake in the hills. And what's a good word for that? Well, I think a good word for that is immersion. You are immersed in this in the fullest possible way. This is the other joy of wild camping. So I spoke about the waking in the morning, but that's followed quite quickly by the setting off, and that's worth speaking about as well. The moment where you set off, because it just amplifies and
increases again, this feeling of immersion that you get when you wild camp in the hills. You walk, you eat, you put your tent up, you sleep, you wake, you have breakfast, you pack your tent away, take a last look at the attractive place where you stayed, and then you set off, and it's just wonderful. I think that's probably better actually than the moment of waking which I referred to. I mean that's joyous, but then you set off, and that's where the real magic is, because it's uninterrupted. It's uninterrupted. You're already in the hills. It's just wonderful.
So the plan for today is I go down to a little valley which is at the bottom of that shaded hillside over there, and then I climb up that hillside and walk along that ridge, not the ridge exactly actually, but the hills behind that ridge I should say, and that's Cnicht on the skyline, top right, that's Cnicht, and then continue down over the hills at the back there, and then back down to Llyn Gwynant.
Another aspect of wild camping which I enjoy is how it enables you to spend longer time in the hills. So I've spent the morning coming to this place which is almost where I spent the night and
wild camped a few years ago. So I spent the entire morning just getting to this place here because I've been going very slowly, not exerting myself very much, because that's not what I wanted to do. And wild camping enables you to do that, so you expand the time and expand the pleasure, but actually do less. And I do like to do that sometimes. That's one aspect of wild camping. It also enables you to do a very long walk where you're wild camping every night, and you can do that for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. My maximum is 3 weeks, not 3 solid weeks, because there are transitions in towns and that kind of thing in the Pyrenees last year. But most of the time I was wild camping in the Pyrenees. And I do like to do that, and it is exhilarating to cross quite a large area and camp in the hills every night. It's brilliant. But I would suggest or advise that there's this other aspect of wild camping as well, where it allows you to spend a longer time in the hills and be there rather than feel you have to be walking all the time, because you don't. It's a mindset, and I have been in that mindset, almost in a stuck way for a while sometimes, but then it's nice to approach the hills differently. It's like different food or different music, and you can undertake a day walk, for example, and split it in two. It's great, really enjoy it. Just having me lunch.
I don't know what these lakes are called or what this area is called particularly, except by way of describing it, and it's between Beddgelert and below Cnicht. Cnicht, incidentally, the mountain I've spoken about before, is spelt C-N-I-C-H-T. I did hear someone once describe the word as Cnicht. That's how he said it. I don't know if that's correct or not. It's not how you would say it in English, but it's a Welsh name, so maybe it is. So, yeah, I'm just highlighting these lakes because they're very lovely indeed. And this is the highlight of my 2-day trip with a wild camp overnight. And here's another lake. So there's a series of them. Very, very scenic. And that's Snowdon on the skyline in the distance. I'll show you more clearly. That's Snowdon up there. So that's where I wild camped a few years ago, down there on that grassy patch. And now I see it, I remember that it was sloping too much, and you can just make out that it is in fact sloping, which doesn't make for an ideal pitch, but you can't always detect it very easily, especially not when it's dark, which I think it was at the time. As you can see though, it's a wonderful place to go to sleep and wake up again in the morning in your tent. Nicer than where I was last night actually, but that didn't work out. Never mind. C'est la vie avec le camping sauvage. This is the final stretch of my walk today. which has effectively been a 2-day walk really. So you come down through this rather magical looking forest, and then you walk beside a lake a little, and then make your way back to your starting point. I think that may entail a section of road. I can't remember the final part of it, but this anyway is the sort of final notable part to comment on, I think, because it's nice. And I think my final words will be in regards to what I've shown you over the past 2 days is the contrast and diversity of different experiences that you have. So you've got rocky, rough areas, you've got a camp, you've got climbs, you've got a bit of clambering, you've got gentle ascents, you've got gentle descents, and then you finish in a forest like this. And that's another part of hill walking. It's not particular to wild camping, but it's part of hill walking that I enjoy, where you get this diversity of impressions throughout the day, throughout your walking day. Listen to the birds.